So GI, or abdomen. The class is split into two parts, GI versus nutrition. GI means the gastrointestinal tract, so it's only referring to the tract going from the mouth to the anus. That tube is the GI tract. All the other things involved in GI, metabolism, nutrition, food-related stuff, if they're not in that tract, they're not technically part of the GI tract, so they fall under nutrition, not GI. Those split into two sides, the liver versus the twins. The twins are the two organs that are there for digesting fat. The twins are the two organs that are there for digesting fat. The biliary system and the pancreas. Step one of digesting fat is whatever it's called, breaking down the fat into micelles, with micelles or something like that. There's like a word for it, whatever. Then after you've kind of broken down the fat a little bit, the second step is to actually fully digest it, and that's the pancreas. So they work together. Step one, step two, the two steps of fully digesting fat. So you have the liver. Under nutrition, you have the liver, the bile, gallbladder and all that stuff, and the bile ducts. And then you have the pancreas. So you could do it as liver and bile versus pancreas, or you can do it as liver versus bile and pancreas. Because these two, you can group them together because they digest fat. But you could also group liver and bile together because they're very interconnected. Your gallbladder's right under your liver, and they're connected to each other by these two ducts and all that stuff. So with liver, there's the blood flow problems. If you want to split liver, you can split it into the flow problems versus the function problems. So when you lose liver function, there's synthetic function, which is the liver's ability to make things, versus digestive function, which is the liver's ability to break things down. Or I shouldn't say digestive, that's not a good word. Whatever. Metabolic function, that's what I should say. So what does the liver make? Proteins. And what are some of those proteins? Albumin is one. Antibody is one. Wait, sorry, liver doesn't make antibody. Albumin is one. Coagulation stuff is one, so clotting stuff. And then you have the coag factors that help you clot. And then you have the opposite, which is the protein C and protein S, which help you not clot, to prevent clotting. So somebody loses liver function, they can clot too much and they can clot too little. They lose all control over their clotting. Then for the GI side of things, well, let's do bile. Bile splits into the gallbladder versus the bile duct. Those are the two parts of the biliary system. It's only two parts. You're either in the bladder or you're in the duct. Bladder or the duct. And whether you're in the bladder or the duct, there's only two problems you can have in your biliary system. You can have a stone or you can have inflammation. And when you start out with a stone, and then the inflammation is just a complication of the stone, because the stone causes stasis, and stasis always leads to infection, no matter what body part or organ system you're in. So if you have a bladder stone, that's called cholelithiasis. If you have a bladder inflammation, that's called cholecystitis. If you have a duct stone, that's called lithiasis, I think. And then if you have duct inflammation, it's called cholangitis. Pancreas splits into the exocrine versus the endocrine pancreas. The endocrine means hormones. That's not even this related to this. That's hormones, insulin, glucagon, diabetes, etc. The exocrine is the one that breaks down fat by releasing two things. It splits into lipase and amylase. Lipase is the more important one. So now if we go to GI, the GI tract splits into the upper versus the lower. The lower is the bowels. The upper is not the bowels. So the lower splits into the small bowel and the large bowel. Small and large intestine. Upper is the esophagus versus stomach. Those are the two parts. It splits into esophagus, stomach, right? After that, you're not in the upper GI anymore. You're now in the lower GI, which is your intestine or your small intestine, and then your large intestine. So esophagus can have GERD where stuff is coming up and achalasia where stuff's not going down. Those are the two big problems. And then there's eosinophilic esophagitis, EOE, which is like an allergy thing. But I like these two as the big main ones. Maybe I should even remove this. It's not really the main thing I'm thinking about. And actually, I shouldn't say achalasia. I should say dysphagia, which is problem swallowing. And then achalasia is just one cause of dysphagia, when that door at the bottom is not open. And there's problems with the nerves to move the esophagus to swallow. The stomach problems. Do we need to split that into two? It's mainly just dyspepsia, peptic ulcers from too much stomach acid. But I guess the other thing could be pyloric stenosis that we see in babies, or stomach cancer or whatever. I mean, I guess there's a lot of things. It's more than two. Yeah. But the important part here is this upper versus lower GI, and then knowing what the upper consists of and what the lower consists of. GI versus nutrition is important, and then knowing what nutrition consists of. It's the liver and the fat guys, the fat twins, for fat digestion. And then the fat twins are these two guys. These two guys are very interrelated because they're kind of like two sides of the same coin.